You're listening to Aging Uncensored.
All right, we're now going to start looking into communities.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the examples I used when I was administrator and I was talking to family members, because when I was an administrator, I had 3 different communities in Auburn, Alabama that were under my watch. And all 3 of them, although they were all in the same, owned by the same hospital in the same area, they all had different personalities. One was more, kind of country club, socialization, like country club. And I don't want to say socialization, but country club feel, kind of more high dining country club. One was more, I came from the farm and at dinner we're drinking buttermilk and eating cornbread, and then one was kind of in the middle. Not all of them provided excellent care. All of them had great staff.
But it's how your loved one's going to live with and communicate with the other people that live and work there and how they're going to feel in that environment. Sometimes I say it's the size of the building even.
Yes.
Think huge. About some of our bigger communities that you feel like you're walking forever and you don't know which elevator to go up or down and all the halls look the same. Mm-hmm. That could be very distressing for some people that have lived in a small town their whole lives and maybe just want, 25 other people to live with.
Exactly. So you've got to look at the size of the community, the people living in the community, the feel of the community. Going back to my Mama Elsie and Mama Betty. Mama Betty would have wanted the country club. Mama Elsie wanted the cornbread and buttermilk, and so we would have moved them in 2 different communities because it was the right fit, although they probably needed the same level of care. So you've got to look at those things. And you walk in, and we say this, like we'll give, depending on the person, sometimes 2, sometimes 4. You really don't want to go past 4 communities for a family to look for. I just think it gets too overwhelming.
I like to start with 3, and then if you hate any of those 3, maybe go check out another one. Yeah. But other than that,
yeah.
And honestly, we'd say this all the time, but skilled is skilled.
Skilled is skilled, yeah.
You're not going to necessarily get a warm, fuzzy feeling from any skilled facility that you walk into.
Right. Skilled being what we call nursing home. Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. So, you're going to look at the personality of the person, the personality of the community. But probably starting number 1 is, what can your loved one afford?
Right.
You
may have to drive 30 minutes out of your way to get to a facility that they can afford.
We were looking at communities last Friday for a family, and the prices have gone up again. So, in our area in Birmingham, which is going to be probably your higher end places in the state of Alabama, memory care, the least expensive memory care right now was close to $7,000 a month.
I thought you were going to tell me 8 or 9.
Yeah. Well, 7 was on the really low end, and it was going into 8s, 9s, and nursing homes are 12. I don't know what happened there.
Did you get a shock?
Oh, go no. Maybe it just went over. Maybe it's dead battery now. She good. Sorry, we've got our co-host is just checking us out, making sure everything's okay. Yeah, making sure everything's okay. So, again, cost. Mm-hmm. It's great to go in one community and feel like you love it, but if your family can't afford it, it's not an option.
Right.
And so, like you said, you may have to go outside of your area.
And some people, if say you have a loved one who can't afford assisted living and they're Medicaid all the way, you may have to skip over some of those levels of care. If you're not able to get a Medicaid waiver or some sort of care at home, then you may have to skip directly over and go to skilled.
Right, exactly. And talking about Medicaid and paying and all those kinds of things. That's a 2 or 3 part series podcast. We're not going to dive
But there
into
could be
those.
someone who, just can't afford any of those higher levels.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where you've got to tap into, we talked about veterans, we talked about the VA aid and attendance a little bit for spouses. So there are things that you've got to consider when you're looking at that. But yeah, I mean, if Medicaid's the only option and you're looking at placement, the other thing is that person has to qualify for nursing home. It can't be somebody that really is functioning at a, independent or assisted living level.
So what do you tell families if they come to you for advice and they say, Christy, we talked to mom probably 5 times. We've been in this circle for 2 years now. She's either got to move or she's going to hurt herself. What do you say?
Again, so are we talking about from a cost perspective or just starting out?
Mom doesn't want to leave her house.
Mom doesn't want to leave her house. Well, again, we're going to vet this thing first. And if she's able to make the decision, right, then there may have to be the hard conversations of, Mom, this is what it's costing you to stay at home. And this is the cost to be somewhere else, and we're going to have to make this decision. Now, if Mom's having brain changes and she's not able to be part of the conversation, then we're going to do things, as we call it, coming around the back door, right? So we're going to do all the things that you do in the beginning and not engage her in that conversation. You're not going to engage Mom in the conversation of...
She's an adult.
She is an adult, but she's an adult with a dying brain.
But I can't just rip the rug out from underneath her and throw her into a lockdown unit.
Yeah, you can.
What?
Yeah. Because if I start talking to Mom right now, and it may be 2 weeks, 3 days, 4 days, 4 months before I move her to a community, if you tell her right now, it is as if she is living on that nightmare wheel every day, all day, and she's consumed by it.
But what about my own personal guilt of doing that to my mother?
Well, that's something that you're going to kind of have to absorb and wrestle with, and understand, though, that you are caring for her, and you're not harming her by giving her that information. So, we have a saying, you cannot rationalize with an irrational brain. And a brain that's having major brain changes cannot have rational conversations sometimes, right?
Sometimes.
So, and in this situation, it's really unfair to that person to it's almost like they forgot that their spouse died 10 years ago. You don't want to keep reliving that. We can talk about Dad, and we can, talk about the favorite things they did on their anniversary, but we don't have to tell her that he's dead every time. Just like in the situation that it's time to move Mom to a memory care, what we like to do is do all the behind the scenes. We go pick out the community. We look at what's the right fit. We go through all those things. We take them to the doctor and get the things that are needed to be done, but it can be just a follow-up appointment. So we don't have to necessarily we're not telling them that we're moving you to a memory care. And honestly, therapeutic fibbing is usually the best journey for this. So, and it also depends on the person and the type of dementia they have. You were working in a community when I was bringing one of my clients in, and that client had frontotemporal dementia. So she could recognize, her short-term memory was not impaired. Her decision-making, problem-solving, functional status was really impaired. Not functional, decision-making, executive function was very impaired. So the way that we discussed, and we didn't talk about it until about the day of, is the family actually really didn't take a lot of personal items into the community. They brought new furniture in because the pitch was her husband, who did have heart issues, was going to go to heart therapy while she was going to go to brain therapy.
Yeah.
So we moved her into the community with her private caregiver that was going to check on her several hours a day, almost, 5 days a week, to have a routine person. And we also, that was the one family that, typically I say, let's pause about 2 or 3 weeks before we go and visit mom once we've moved to her memory care community. We actually gave them 2 months. So talk about what that looked like on the inside. And y'all probably at first were like, 2 months, but it actually worked out, didn't it?
It worked out because she was able to engage with the staff that was there. She had a beloved care partner that still came in and spent the majority of her waking hours with her. So she was able to kind of train the staff and redirect and give those subtle cues for other people to pick up on. She did ask about her husband and her children, and they were able to make phone calls here and there. But for the most part, she was able to be there for therapy.
Yeah.
And so we even actually, once the family started visiting again, had to back off a little bit because, and I would do the same, you're able to see mom again, you're able to see your spouse again. Well, let's come every day and let's, take her out for rides and let's do, certain things. And it became too much for her. And then she started looking for them and it was distressful. So we had to ask the family just to pare down a little bit and come once a week for a while afterwards.
And a lot of families, I think any loving, caring family is going to struggle with that.
Yeah.
What do you mean I'm not supposed to go see mom every day? There are some people that it's okay to go see them on a regular and they can go out and they can do things. Again, it's case by case, situation to situation. It's person to person.
Yes.
It's what we call person-centered care planning. And just like you said, you had to back off. Same thing. That's where our situation that we've been inside the community as leadership. I remember meeting with a similar family saying, when you take mom out to these long dining, you take her out to a restaurant and you take her out to these grandkid functions, she comes back and she's exhausted, she's anxious, she's agitated, she's stressed out. And it takes us a couple of days to kind of get her back in her routine.
So those 3 hours versus 3 days.
Yes.
It doesn't match up. There's not a good balance.
Right. So listen to the staff, the community that's working with her. And if they tell you taking her out is too much, understand that you are providing love by following that.
Right. And coming there to visit for
Right.
a little while and then leaving without
That's right.
mom.
Just like you're providing love when you're not visiting all the time. I tell folks when you first move them in, give them a pause. And when you do go see them, go with the intention of only about 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and go right before
A meal or an activity that they like.
Yes. Something that you can slowly transition. And you don't have to have the big goodbye hug. You can do the, exit stage right kind of situation, the duck and run, if you will.
Or simply, I've got to go to the store or run an errand and I will see you soon and I love you.
That's right. Again, look at the situation, talk to the community staff, and see what works best with your loved one. So when you're finding the best fit, because we talked a lot about
Memory care.
Memory care. But let's go back to when you're touring and things like that. So obviously we talked about personality, cost, needs. When you're in the community, you're going to be toured by marketing. Let me give you a hint. Top secret. Marketing is not caring for your loved one. Love them.
They're not even going to know your loved one after they get you in the tour.
That's true. They are in a separate area in their own office, and they are not the ones that you're going to be calling when something's going on. So you want to look around as you're walking around, and you want to ask questions like, what's the tenure of staff? How do they have a lot of turnover, or do they have some steady eddies that are there? Who is going to be directly in charge of writing your loved one's plan of care and following that plan of care?
And look around. I mean, we're at an age now where, staff potentially is sitting on their phone instead of interacting,
Yes.
or the nurse is behind a closed door versus being out and about, or the director is off in a meeting. I hated being off in a meeting.
I know.
So just be aware of the situation. And I always tell families, look to see what the residents are doing. Are they sleeping? Are they pacing the halls, wandering around, looking for something to do? Are they engaged in an activity? Do they look happy? Do their clothes match? Is their hair done?
Yes.
Are the guys shaved? All of those things, you are able to pick up on those subtle cues to see what the quality of care is like. And if it smells like urine when you hit the door, just turn around.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, come back a second time if you feel like just something happened, but if it's there all the time and it's strong, it's staying there.
It's staying there.
It's staying there and it's not going away. You know, when you go in there, you can get a feel as to what's going on. The other thing is, you're going to be alarmed. So I'm not going to say don't be alarmed. But when you're looking around, you may have one that's sleeping, one or two that look a lot further in their journey than your loved one. Now, here's the thing. They probably moved their mom in there 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the journey. That's the progression. So just because Mrs. Sally's there and, you know, your mom seems higher functioning than that, if you see other people that probably look like they can hang out with mom, and ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
You know, each community has kind of a lifespan of things, you know, so do they have more people that have moved in recently? Do they have a mix of folks?
And you don't know how your mom is going to react in that environment. It could be that she despises the other people that are walking and talking and doing and going, and she may feel fulfilled sitting next to or helping with that person that's a little bit less able to do things.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So speak to that direct care. Say hello. See what they say. Do they reply to you? Do they even look at you? Mm-hmm. You know, will they offer any kind of welcome to the community, anything like that? Talk to other people. I mean, we talked about that when we were looking into these things. And again, don't get so hung up on it has to be a community that has all levels of care. So I think we've talked about all that. Then you get to what's the next step. Let's kind of move forward. We've talked a lot about the before scene. Now it's time to move mom. And we talked about when to do it, how to do it, things like that. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of we're moving her and we've got to think about packing.
Mm-hmm.
Number one rule, you don't need all the big furniture.
You don't need all the stuff.
You don't need all the stuff.
I kind of think of it as you come into the world with nothing. You come into the world with the skin you're born in.
Yep.
You die in the skin you're born in. As you build and make a life, you find that you have more and more stuff. As you're getting closer to the end of life, you need to be paring down your stuff.
Right.
And think about what is the most important to you, to your parent, to your loved one. And as you move along to the different levels of care, what you can physically take with you becomes less and less.
That's right. I mean, clothes.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need all of those fancy church dresses.
Do not take something that cannot be washed in a washer.
Yes.
And expect the staff to keep it from shrinking when mom's had an accident.
But if you do, because I had a client who was the, oldest reigning Miss Alabama. She wasn't Mrs. when she won it. And she loved to dress to the nines. But her daughter was totally fine if something got ruined because she recognized that her mom wanted to wear, the big pearls. We got the fake ones. The big pearls, the big earrings, have her hair done, put her makeup on, and she got that community like dressing nice. She whipped those folks into shape. But if they do like to wear, like the man that likes to wear the button down every time and
the wool coat,
that's fine. But don't be so attached to what you send that it doesn't go missing or something happens.
Because
to it.
mom's 14 pants are going to come out of the dryer a size 4.
Right, exactly. So if you can minimalize, you don't need much. At most, maybe 2 weeks worth of clothes, to be honest with you. And that's not very much.
No.
Keep it simple for them.
And
we don't need hills.
If the space is smaller, then, have a spot maybe in your house that you can have non-season clothes in and then do a swap out as the seasons change. But most of the time, a community is going to have the common areas between 71 and 81 degrees, no matter what time of the year it is. So
it's always hot.
So you can have a few light sweaters, a jacket in case they go out or go outside. Pants, dresses, whatever they're comfortable in.
They still like sweatshirts in July.
Yes, they do. Because they're going to be cold in July.
That's right.
It'll be 100 degrees outside, but if it's 71 in their community, they want that sweater on. And I will too. I get it.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. And then when you're looking at what to bring in, so if it's so daunting and it's too much, again, find an aging life care expert that can help you with that. There's also organizations called Senior Move Specialists that can help with that. And, we do this for our folks. I don't even know. I think we counted at one point. We've probably moved over 200 times, between all the years that we've done this, between you, me, everything else.
Yeah.
So whether that's one person that we've moved 4 times, and that can happen, but every time you take a move, you look at what is necessary, what is needed. And then as you can, we had that one situation where she was going for brain therapy. For the most part, though, you do want things that are familiar for them.
Pictures, quilts, things like that are very meaningful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And consider what you're doing and don't make an obstacle, right? Keep it simple. And within every area, so like if you're looking at independent living, but if you're into memory care, in memory care, you probably can't take mouthwash and shaving cream and some things like that could be scissors, razors,
guns.
Well, guns
just
anywhere.
To be honest.
Please just don't take guns.
No
shells.
firearms.
No machetes.
No machetes.
No machetes. None of those things. But think about what matches, lighters.
Yep.
Probably don't need those. Candles.
Don't
all
need
of
those.
those things we don't need. So think about that when you're moving, and ask that specific community if they have a checklist. We're going to put up on our website, or we can have it on our website maybe, but we're going to definitely put it up on our podcast. Things that you need to think about for a checklist. So we've got, an independent living checklist and some things to think about. We've already talked about, personal items, jewelry.
Let's have a real discussion about jewelry. Mom's worn the same ring since Dad gave it to her when she was 18. And it's a 3-carat diamond.
Wow.
What are you going to do with it?
What was he doing when he was 18?
Old money.
Yeah, okay. So old money gave the 3-carat ring.
Yes. Or even if it's a 1 carat or less than a carat, it doesn't matter. Just take it out.
Yep. It's going to get cleaned.
Replace it with a CZ.
It's going to get cleaned. You're going to send it to Bromberg's to get cleaned. And so therefore find a CZ.
Yes.
It's okay.
It's okay. And know that if you don't, say it's stuck on there and you're not worried about it, it's going to go missing one way or the other.
Yeah.
It's, we don't want to say it, but theft could happen. I had a very lovely lady who really did have the same ring since she was engaged as a teenager, and it went missing. And we looked for it for about 3 or 4 months, and then we finally found it stuck between her headboard and the wall.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't stolen. It just fell off of her nightstand.
Yeah.
And thank God it didn't get swept up with a vacuum or something like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the daughter slid it right back on Mom's hand.
Yeah, don't do
after
that.
crying for 3 months.
At that point in time, just take it. She don't even realize it's still
I know.
gone. But
I know.
anyway,
I even had a family that I took pictures and said they didn't want to take it away from mom. So I took pictures and sent it to them. She went to a community, went back home. And then as she was moving to skilled later on, they were like, well, where's mom's ring? I don't know. She's had 2 or 3 moves. So
yeah,
who knows?
that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's like if you've got, outside help that's coming in to help you in your home, whether that's, anybody, it could be a home health agency, it could be a care partner.
It could be a plumber.
It could be a plumber. If you are concerned about, grandma's silver set, well,
Take
lock
it.
up grandmother's silver set.
Yes.
So just know that anything can happen. And here's the thing, like you said, that wasn't somebody that stole that. It was just a misplacement, which happens a lot.
And let's be honest, glasses, jewelry,
Dentures.
teeth, hearing aids, shoes, socks, all the things go missing. At one of our local communities that is dearly beloved, I have personally watched one person go from room to room to room and go shopping in every single room. Take it all back to her room and start hanging it up.
Yep. Wow, she got a new wardrobe today.
She did. She did.
Super proud of it.
Yep.
Then she was probably showing her neighbor the blue shirt that she took from her.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this new blue shirt my
Oh, I
daughter
love that
brought.
blue shirt. I've got one just like it.
Right, or I had. Little did you know.
Tomorrow we'll be twinning.
That's right, exactly. In our mind it will be.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a number of different things. I'm not going to go through all of these things, but it's a lot of think about things,
Think about your day. So
Yeah.
when you wake up, what are the personal hygiene items that you use every day or mom uses every day? Think about how you get dressed.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how you get ready for bed. Think about what you lay on when you go to bed.
Right.
Think about changing from regular shoes to slippers or continence care or things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell families, if you're going to assisted living, memory care, sometimes independent living, let's talk about it, bed bugs.
Yeah.
How many times have we had to deal with that?
A lot.
Yeah. So I would say go ahead and cover the mattress and the box spring
Yep.
in a sealed plastic something for bed bugs as well as for urine. And then go ahead and get several mattress covers that are waterproof and several pairs of sheets
Yep.
and several comforters. Because if there's an accident in the middle of the night, that staff's not going to have the time to wash it, dry it, put it back on the bed while they're also trying to do personal laundry at the same time.
Right. And caring for your mom.
And caring for your mom.
All of those things. If you're obviously they need a comfortable chair. If it's a comfortable chair, I would consider using like a, faux leather or something like that can't be ruined per se.
And have a waterproof cover.
Waterproof
There's-
cover,
you can
a
get them off
Chuck's
of
pad.
Amazon so
Yes.
easily now.
Absolutely. Don't take the little rickety, cute little antique chair. That's not good. And as you're in the room, you don't need a coffee table unless you're in an independent living apartment that has the space or an assisted living that has a living room space. You don't need all those things.
No.
They really don't need a lot of the cookware in assisted living because you should have all your meals provided.
Right. Yep.
So all things to think about. Again, we've got the checklist and we could go through this, but it's,
And put labels on certain
Yes.
things. Like if you're going to a community that has a lot of wheelchairs, put your person's name on their wheelchair.
walker.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All the things. So
Trick it out.
trick it out.
Give mom sneakers for walker skis.
That's right. Bedazzle it.
That's right.
Bedazzle it. Go all in on your favorite team, whatever
That's
it is.
right. I think we're nearing our time, aren't we? Is there anything that's like vitally important? That
No,
you
I think
can
we'll throw the
of?
checklist up there. I think we've really kind of covered
Mm-hmm.
really the nuts and bolts. It's kind of the pre-stuff.
Can I share my one
Please
funny
do.
story?
Please do.
Okay. So we had a lady that lived in one of our independent communities that had different levels of care, but we decided that she probably would be best in a memory care somewhere else. And the daughter was afraid of her. She had not. There was not a good relationship up until that point.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yes, you and Linda had gone and gotten her
Yes.
onto a medication regime.
Yep.
And then I was the person who one day had to go pick her up and tell her that she had won Volunteer of the Year.
Yep.
I took her to a fancy Italian restaurant as her reward, and we had glasses of wine and a long, long lunch.
What happened while she was at lunch?
Oh, geez, pipes burst. And they actually had to move all of the residents out of that wing of the facility that she was in. And I just happened to
Let me go back. Pipes burst.
Which, okay, as a side note, how many years was it later that pipes actually burst?
I know.
And I actually had to move some of our clients out of that building temporarily.
Whoopsies. Maybe we put a little something on there. But truth be told, pipes have burst in our line with us.
Pipes have burst all over the place.
Time.
All the
Yes,
time.
Yes. So pipes burst. You're at the Italian restaurant. She's enjoying Volunteer of the Month. She gets the phone call. What happens?
We have to go to a different place. And
Yeah.
it just so happens that we have an apartment already set up for her.
With all her things,
With
including her rosary.
some of her things that we were able to get out
Yep.
before they shut that wing down.
Yep.
And she got her phone because she had it with her. Unfortunately, her charger did not make it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And so she had my number and she could call me. And after about the 50th call that evening, I quit answering. And you know what she did? I get a call from some number in New York. I happen to have a power of attorney who lives in New York. And I think, well, maybe he's calling me about another client from an unknown phone. Turns out it was her.
She tricked you.
She borrowed a phone from a friend. She phoned a friend.
She phoned a friend. That's right.
I need you to come get me.
That's right. But then she transitioned there.
She
and
did great.
She did really good.
She ended up loving it there. The staff loved her. It was a great fit. She calmed down a lot. She had a very good relationship with her daughter and her son-in-law after that.
Yeah.
And I still had to go and cut her nails because she had won nail care from her church.
Yes.
That was one thing she wouldn't let the staff there do. But other than that, she transitioned very well.
Let's end on this thought. So we tell families, particularly when they're moving into memory care, but it could be in any community. Like, when we moved, when Alan's sister moved to an independent living, she was fighting it tooth and nail, and she did not have brain changes. She had a very healthy brain. But it took, a little while for her to get in the routine, and then she was loved it, beloved by the whole community. Especially, someone with brain changes. How long? It's gonna,
I would say 6 weeks to 3 months
Yep.
is a good transition time.
give it time.
Give it time. Yeah.
Give it
Don't
time.
decide 2 weeks later that it's a disaster, because it's going to be a disaster for a long time.
Yeah.
But then it'll click and that person will get into a new routine, be familiar with the other new faces, and their brain will relax. They will make friends. They'll potentially go to church if they're a church person that hasn't been in a long time because they don't drive anymore.
Yeah.
And you'll find that it'll be closer to home.
And they can get their hair done every week.
I know.
I love it. Okay. So that's moving mom.
Yay.
Yay.
We moved her.
We moved mom.
Good luck to
and
you.
it was successful. That's right. That's right. And
If
we
it's
fixed
not
the pipe.
successful, call a professional.
That's right. If it's not successful, call a professional. We'll help you through the process.
That's right.
So I hope you enjoyed today's podcast on moving mom or moving any of our loved ones. So like, subscribe, follow, share. Share's a big one. That's how we get more subscribers, followers, and likes on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple. So again, thank you for Aging Uncensored. Christy Baines, Nicole Crawford signing off. Lady Baines, our producer extraordinaire, Taylor Crane, fact checking us on the Aging Life Care radius up to 250 miles. Thank you. And that's a wrap. Thank you.
Bye.